Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will describe to you a very beautiful bag work that belongs to a famous brand. We prepared our bag entirely by knitting paper type, just like the original. I used ready-made handles. I want to show the inside of our bag. It is quite deep. It can be used as a beach bag or as a daily bag. You can use it for this bag. I used approximately 500 grams of paper type. See our model. It is a very easy bag consisting of only single needle. I'm sure even those who are starting to knit for the first time can do this very easily. Look, we used a rectangular base on the bottom of our bag. If you want, you can also use an oval base instead of a rectangular one. But it was really beautiful and very useful the way it was. The length of the bottom of our bag is 40 centimeters. It is 10 centimeters wide. The length of our bag was 30 centimeters. The lining inside the original bag is sewn. There was also a zipper at the mouth. If you want, you can make snaps on the mouth part, make different accessories, or apply a complete zipper to the mouth part after sewing the lining on the inside, as in the original. This way it will be really useful and beautiful. It's a really stylish model. By combining several such colors, it does not have to be the same colors. You can also combine different colors. I tried to share all the stages with you step by step in the video. I hope that will be useful. Before moving on to our detailed recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. I would be really happy if you could subscribe to our channel for free, like the video and leave your comments. By the way, I would like to point out this. I have described to you a very easy base work in its easiest, most understandable form. I tried to share it with you. I hope it will be a useful content. Let's move on to our recipe. For this bag, I use paper rope that I bought in skeins. I don't do any softening process, etc. of my paper string. I prepared it by knitting it as a single horse without making it. I take my rope aside and want to show you the sole. Look, I used 3 different colors. I like the original. Our base is a rectangular base. We started here with 50 chains, increasing by 5 rows. We obtained a rectangular base. If you want, you can work this on an oval base. In fact, instead of knitting such a base, you can easily apply this bag to a ready-made base. A very easy pattern consisting of only single crochet. Here, the length of my base is 40 centimeters and the width is 10 centimeters. The length of my bag was 30 centimeters. If you want to change the size of this bag, you will need to play with the number of your starting chains here. If you want to make it bigger, you can increase or decrease the number of chains. By the way, you can work with the same numbers as me, but your measurements may be less or more. This is the thinness and thickness of our rope, and most importantly, it will change depending on our knitting tightness and looseness. It is worth mentioning this at the beginning. Now, I would like to start by explaining the base here. While working with paper thread here, my crochet number was 3 millimeters. I completed it in a very comfortable way without shaking my hand. I do not recommend shaking your hands too much. Because the bags sold in stores, they are knitted as loosely as possible. That is, they are worked with a clerk, and even the clerkship I work for is almost exactly the same as the clerk I work for. But it's pretty loosely knit. If you want such a loose knit, you can increase your crochet number, especially if you are tight-fisted and normally knit very tightly. I recommend you to use large numbered crochet hooks. You can do this tightly, no problem, but being a little soft like this makes the bag beautiful. Let me also point this out. Now, to describe the model to you more easily, look, I worked the bag here entirely with paper string, but now I will use a macrame thread here to explain the model to you. Again, my crochet number will be 3 millimeters. You can determine your own crochet number according to the thinness and thickness of your yarn, the tightness and looseness of your knitting. We first start with the chain. I hope I will give a very easy basic explanation now. Look, we're pulling our chain here. This is valid for all knitting. 1 click looser than the setting we knit after making the first chain lock. Look, it's not too loose. We prepare our chain so that they are just 1 click looser than the setting we knitted. Since I will explain a small model now, this much chain is enough for me. No matter how much you want the number of this chain and the size of your bag, you may not want this width part very much. You can do it in fewer rows. You can extend the bag further, or it can enlarge the base by 10 rows, for example, instead of 5 rows. You can make the width wider. You can play with these easily. Now here we turn the reverse part of our chain, not the straight part. We pulled our chain until we reached the size we wanted. Now we leave the last chain we pulled here and make a loop by sinking into the back cut line of another chain. We have 2 stitches and completed them. We knit single needle. Look, I'm not knitting tightly. I work in this exactly the same way as I did with paper thread. We sink into the back cut line of the next chain, remove the stitch and knit single crochet again. In this way we continue this process until the end of the row by sinking into the back cut line of each chain. At this stage, if you think I knitted too fast, you can slow down the video or conversely speed it up and watch the video. Now we come to the final point. See, at this point, this is our last chain here. We knit 3 single needles in this chain. Look, 3 single crochets in the last chain. 1 in the same space. 2. Now I want us to put this rope together like this. Look, now I'm sinking into the same chain again. And 3. We will hide this rope later. Look. Here we knit 1, 2, 3 single needles. Now look inside another chain. We knitted 3 single crochet stitches in the last chain here. And now another chain appears in spike shape. Look, it looks like this. And look at the bottom of the single crochet right here. We're sinking into the chain point here, but our crochet remains in the shape of a spike. Again, we remove the stitch and knit single crochet. We sink into the next chain. Look, this again looks like a spike. We are knitting a double crochet by dropping a stitch, now until the end of the row. Look at each row, we move to the opposite side. When we dip into the bottom point of the single crochet in each chain and do this, look, there is no opening left in the middle part. I even want to show it like this. Look, there is no opening in the middle part of the chain. Normally, there is no opening in the middle part of the chain like this. When we sink into it, there will be a clear image. This does not happen. Now look, we have come to the last chain. Here it is. Look, the chain with the single crochet that we started with first. We knit 2 single needles at this point. 1, 2. Now we will knit this base differently. How will we knit? We will knit completely spirally. There will be no join points. That's why we will make the corner increase points clear with safety pins. Look, we had 3 single needles in this corner. 1, 2, 3. I put a safety pin on the spot where the first single needle we inserted is triple. I jump to the second single needle here. I put a safety needle on the top of the third single needle that I inserted in the same hole. Look. Since I'm going to increase at these points, look, I'm going to increase at these points. Now we're at the end point. Look at the beginning. Here's our first single crochet. Here's a safety pin at the point where the first single crochet is. And since we knitted 1 single crochet at the beginning of this last space, we knitted 2 at the end. We passed 1, 2, 3 single needles in this way. Now I'm putting my safety pin on the first of these 3 again. Look, we will make a rectangular base, so we will increase it at these 4 points. Now, since we will be knitting a spiral, this point is important as to how we proceed, as we will be knitting a spiral completely without any joining. Now I attached my safety pin to the points where I will increase. Now I'm taking out my safety pin. I knit the increase by making 3 single crochets in the same space each time. Look, we knitted 2 single needles. Now coming to the top of the first single crochet, I never tighten my hand with one hand. 2, I knitted my third 3 single needles in the same space. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm not letting go of the safety pin. I knitted 1, 2, 3 single crochet stitches on my second needle. I immediately attach my safety pin to my second single crochet right in the middle, and I continue. Sink to the next point and see, after sinking 3 times, I sink to the others one by one. I proceed by knitting 1 single crochet on each straight section until my safety pin. Now, we continued by sinking one by one until we reached the point where the safety pin was. Now I'm removing my safety pin here. I came to this needle. I took out my safety pin. I knit 3 single crochets in the space where the single crochet is. 1, 2, and 3. I knitted 3 single needles. Now I'm taking my safety pin, the safety pin I left behind. I attach a safety pin to a second one. Then I continue. There is one single crochet stitch here. I'm knitting this as one. Look, I'm knitting one for each until the safety pin comes. When we get to the safety pin, I immediately take it off. I knit 3 single needles in the gap of the single needle where the safety pin is. 1, 2, 3. I grab my safety pin. I reattach my safety pin to a second one. Now I continue this process by inserting a single needle into the others, coming to another gap, using a single needle and inserting a single needle into the others until I reach the safety needle here. I've come to the point where my safety pin is. Here I take out my needle. Look, I'm knitting 3 single crochets into the space I just removed. 1, 2, 3, and I immediately put my safety pin on the second one and the second one again. Now look, I will tell you one more tip here. I didn't hide the rope there. I left the short rope. Take the intermediate part. The point across this string is our end point. In other words, it is the row where our turn ends and a new one begins. Let me share this with you as a tip. If you want to make it more noticeable, you can also attach a safety pin of a different color here, if you think you will get confused at this point. Now, after knitting our 3 single needles, look at the other one and knit the remaining single needle. We knit a single needle on another single needle. Now we have come to the point where the safety needle is. We take out our safety needle again and knit 3 single needles in this space. I take my 1, 2, 3 safety needle and put my safety needle on the second one again. Then I continue knitting one by one, see, knitting each one once. We will continue in this way. It's pretty easy logic. I actually explain this all the time, but maybe it will be more understandable this way, especially for beginners. Now we are preparing the classic rectangular base. The only thing we do differently here is to knit a complete spiral without joining. It's exactly the same technique we used on round bases. Now the reason I'm using safety pins here is because sometimes beginners get this very confused. Here we always increase the vertices by 3. We always make increases in the corners by knitting 3 single crochets in the second row of the triple. Now, as I have described to you, I started with 50 chains in this bag. As I said, I made my increase by knitting 5 rows. After doing my increase, now I want to see my short rope is here. This is where I need to finish. Now I want to knit this row here too. After knitting this row completely, I will come to the end of the row here. How do I raise the wall of my bag? How do I transition color after upgrading? I will be sharing this with you immediately. Look, we have knitted 3 rows together with you here. As I said here, I knitted 5 rows. Now how do we get out of the wall here? We increased again in the corners. Look, where we finish doesn't actually matter from this point on. After making the last increase, look at this part here. If you are wondering about your starting point, the last thing we looked at here was 2 single needles. The second one is the top of this one and the top of this one. Now my turn is over here. After we finish increasing the base here, we have nothing to do with these safety pins. We can remove them. See now, we will not increase the corner. We increased the rectangular base until it reached the size we wanted. If you want my starting point to be clear, look here. The point opposite the short rope was the point where we will finish, and we knitted 3 single crochets in the same hole. We increased the third in the first one. Look, the single needle in the middle is our finishing row is showing. You can attach a safety pin to it like this. You can attach a safety pin like this here to avoid losing your end point. Now what we do next is very easy. We just knit 1 single crochet into each incoming space. Look, we have come to the corner of the trio. We knit 1 for each. No more bidding. I want to knit completely in a spiral like this so that I can complete this row. Look again, we will make the same transition. There is no difference. Let's complete our row here. We have reached the end of the row by knitting 1 for each. We continue the same process. Look, we will raise our wall by knitting a complete spiral like this by sinking 1 into each of them. Look, after raising our wall, I started with a black base and raised it here until it reached the size I wanted. I will not give the number of rows here because I don't know what the size you want is, but I still want to give the measurement like this because it will vary from hand to hand. Look, this is the measurement of the black dot in centimeters from the base to the increase point. Let's say it's 14 centimeters, 14.5 centimeters. The blue dot is 9.5 centimeters, 7 centimeters here. Look, 7 centimeters. I prepared it this way, 30 centimeters in total. But you guys, this mold was a little too black like the original. Blue was slightly less than black. The cream was slightly less blue. And I implemented it as in the original. But if you want to do the row numbers in the original, as I mentioned at the beginning, there were quite large single needles using large crochet hooks that were knitted as loosely as possible. So this is not a look that I like very much, especially when it is like this in the clog. Your bag is much stronger a little bit compared to our hands anyway. It will take a lot of thought, but when it is like this, I really think it is more durable and useful for a longer period of time. You can also sew a lining into this bag if you want. The original had a lining and a zipper was sewn on the mouth. It can be used that way too, but I want to use it without a zipper. It's a very useful bag, so it can be used even if you do not sew a lining. But if you sew a lining, you will make the life of your bag longer. Now at this point, we continue knitting completely in a spiral. I'm assuming I've gotten to the point where the safety pin is. I think it's dented. I think I'm done with the blackhead. And now how do I get past the blue color? Now I will show you a different color transition here. See, this is where I end up. You don't necessarily have to follow this part. I think it stayed in the other part. Look, I made my transitions so that this edge is right on the edge so that it does not attract much attention. I want to show it to you right away. It doesn't have to be an end point. I'm sinking with my hook. Look, I'm knitting the next single crochet. I remove the noose. After sinking and removing the stitch, I do not close it in the same color. If it is going to be a different color, I take the other color and close these two stitches with a different color by wrapping them around the head of the hook. Then look, we left the short one a little bit, another cream color with a new color. Look the same way, we will hide it in the same way by sinking into the top of the next single needle, now with my new color. I start knitting like this. After hiding the cream color enough, I cut it out so that we have nothing to do with the bottom color. Look, we made the color transition like this. Now think about it with yellow, that is, with blue. I continue by knitting a spiral in the same way. After knitting in enough different colors, I do the same process for the other color. Then look, I cut the rope here and remove it. After hiding it sufficiently, we prepare our bag in this way. I hope it was understandable. As I said, it is a very easy model. Now look, here's the point where I made the color transition. First I switched from black to blue. I knitted enough with blue. Then I switched to cream color. Now here I want it to be finished like this in the original. Look, it is finished with single crochet. But I want the mouth of my bag to not open as I use it. At this stage, if you sew the lining and zipper, there will be no opening anyway. But if you are not going to sew the lining, it does not matter if you sew it. You can do this process. Now I have reached the last point. I am inserting the next single needle. I have knitted enough. I am at the end point. I insert the single needle. I remove the stitch and slide it from the other stitch. Look, I am inserting the stitch into the next single needle. I take it off and slide it from the other stitch. That is, we apply a chain technique. I will make a slide at the mouth by sinking in this way. Let me do it a little bit so that it is fully understood what I did. I do not shake my hand much at this stage. It is in the setting of the knitting. Look, I will finish at the end of the row by making a slide like this. Then I will start sewing the handles of my bag like this. I finished. You can iron our bag after knitting. I don't recommend it from the inside or outside, but it can be ironed outside. The ones in the stores definitely iron it. They iron the inner and outer paper threads. That's why it's so soft. For example, when I put my bag on it right now, it stands up very easily. The form is very nice, mold-like, but the ones in the store definitely do not look like this. It has a very soft appearance. Even though it's lined, it definitely doesn't stay on. Of course, it is not a matter of preference for some people. Now I'm going to finish my scrolling like this. Afterwards, we will complete our bag by sewing our handles. I used ready-made leather handles like this from my bag. Look, it has sewable points. Here, when I closed his mouth, he made a total of 45 centimeters. So I divided them into 15, 15, 15 and highlighted the points where I would attach my stems with safety pins. And I attached my paper thread to an etamine needle and placed it by attaching the last color I used here. Now look, I'm going to remove the safety pin here. I immediately place my handle at this point like this. At this stage, look directly at my rope without tying it or anything. First of all, I will hide my rope here by passing it through the intermediate parts where the paper rope is. Look, this is where I'm going to sew. After fixing it in this way, we pass it through this bottom point and make a closure here. Since it is like a mold, the paper takes shape immediately. Now at this stage, look, it has holes. I'm taking my needle out from here. I secured my bag, put it again, and see, I will measure 15 centimeters here again. I need to take a little bit to avoid slipping, etc. I am placing this part. This is how we completed our bag by sewing the handles. If you want, you can use snaps, etc. on the inside. You can also use. It was really easy and enjoyable to make. I hope you like it and try it too. I wish good luck to those who will do it. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.